Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. You're watching another one of my YouTube guitar building videos. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope that by the end of this video, I'll have earned your subscription. So what I'm going to be talking about in today's video is part 2 of my multi-scale, my 6-string multi-scale fan fret guitar build. And really what this is going to be is a continuation of part 1 where I talked about the plan. We're really close to the 2023 Christmas holiday, so I've been really busy and haven't had a lot of time to work on that project, but I have made some progress, which I think is really interesting, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. So first of all, one of the things that I have been working on quite a bit over the past week is the design for the pickups, because as I mentioned in part 1, the pickups for this guitar have to be completely custom made. There are no off-the-shelf pickups that'll work in this guitar, nor are there off-the-shelf parts that I can use to make pickups to fit in this guitar. So what I've had to do is I've had to design the components, the base plates and the bobbins. And I have been working over the past week to finalize those designs and to 3D print them on my 3D printer. So after doing a ton of prototypes, I have finally come up with what I think are going to be the actual parts that I'm going to use to make the pickups. Now, in truth, I'll be talking a lot more about this in a future episode when I actually make the pickups. But for now, I kind of wanted to share with you the work that I have been doing to get to this point. And what I had to do was to design bobbins and a base plate for both the neck and the bridge pickups that will work with this guitar. Because when you're doing a multi-scale fan fret guitar, the pickups are placed at an angle. And when they're placed at an angle, because they're humbuckers, the bobbins have to be offset slightly in order to get the poles to line up under the strings. So that necessitated having to custom design and build the base plates and the bobbins in order for these designs to work. I also had to think about the finished texture of those 3D printed parts. Now, I can print two different ways with 3D printing. I can do resin 3D printing, or I can do filament 3D printing. And originally I was thinking I would do the resin 3D printing, but I've had some issues lately with resin 3D printing. It's important to understand resin 3D printing is extremely toxic. In fact, I think that's going to pose some problems for the industry in the not too distant future. A lot of parents are going to be buying their kids these resin 3D printers, and the health problems that they can cause might eventually at some point lead to a class action lawsuit. But I'm not going to get into that in this video. I don't want to bore you with that. But what I ended up doing was I printed the bobbins and the base plate using my filament 3D printer. And when you're printing with filament, there are a number of different ways that you can achieve different types of surface finishes. And I had to decide what I was going to do with that. So what I have, and I'll show you this up close, this is what the bobbin looks like when it is printed on the 3D printer. It has a texture, and that texture, you can control that depending on how you print it. This is what the texture looks like on the top surface, and this is what the texture looks like on the back surface. This is the part that adheres to the printer bed, so it has this kind of texture to it. There's also different strategies that you can employ to get really smooth textures. It just depends on how you set it up to print. But I opted to just keep it with this texture. I don't have any issues with that, and I think it looks kind of cool. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, I did do some experimentation For example, here is a bobbin that I printed, and then I sanded the surface to get that smooth, it's sort of a matte sheen. Now I could take it further and buff it out to a glossy shine like you typically see with a humbucker bobbin. However, you know, in this modern era, if you look at a lot of custom pickup makers out there, you'll notice that they're offering a variety of different finishes on their pickups, especially if they're covered. And, you know, take a look at bare knuckle pickups. They have a lot of really cool finishes that they offer on their humbucker covers. So I really think that in the modern era, we can break away from tradition. And for me, in guitar building, my goal has always been to try to break away from Grandpa's way of making guitars, following the traditional techniques from the past. And that's why I'm using CNC technology and 3D printing. That's where it's headed. So I want to try to maximize how that looks. And that's why I'm going to keep the pickup bobbins with that sort of 3D printed look to them. I think it looks kind of cool. The base plate, I actually printed these so that they have that rough texture on the bottom facing up. Now you really can't see it because the bobbins will cover it. But one thing you're obviously going to notice is that my base plates are the 3D printed plastic, the PLA plastic. That begs the question, how do you ground the base plates? Because in most cases, humbucker base plates are either made out of brass or nickel silver, and they're grounded. I'm not going to get into the reasons why that's the case. I will say, though, that it isn't absolutely necessary to ground the base plates. But if I want to ground these, it's simply a matter of applying some copper foil tape to the bottom of the base plate and then soldering the ground wire to it. Pretty easy. So that's what I intend to do with this. Now, as I mentioned in the last video, all the files that I'm using to create all this stuff, the guitar, the pickups, everything, will be available as a package on my eGuitar Plans website, as well as in my Highline Guitars merch store. There are links for both of those down in the description. You can actually scroll through my Highline Guitars merch store, which is displayed below the description for this video. But you'll be able to purchase all that, and you'll be able to get the plans, you'll be able to get the STL files, everything. So that's all going to be part of one package, and that way you can print your own bobbins and base plates and do all that. You can follow along in this build and do your own exact copy of this guitar. Those files will be available once this entire series and that guitar is finished. I'm not going to make them available right now. I'll just wait till the guitar has been completely built. And then that way you can purchase the plans, and then, like I said, you can follow along and build your guitar following the video series where I've built this guitar. So now let's take a look at where things stand with the plan for the actual guitar itself. I've made a little bit of progress since the last episode, and you'll notice that I have finished the control cavity with the holes for, right now I'm planning to use a volume pot, a tone pot, and a 3-way toggle switch. So I've got that laid out, and I've laid out the position of the pickups, the neck cavity. I've laid out the entire neck top view as well as the side view with the body. I still have some more work to do to refine those elements. You'll see at the top I've got the fretboard drawn out. However, that's just a template that I'm using to follow when I do the final layout for the fretboard. Because one of the things I like to do is since I'm cutting the fretboard on a CNC machine, I set the slots so that they stop short of the edge of the fretboard. That's called a blind slot. And it makes for really smooth edges of your fretboard. So I like the way that looks, and I still need to set that up. And I'm thinking about And this is just something that I'm mulling over, and I haven't actually pulled the trigger or decided whether I'm going to do this or not. But several people have mentioned, hey, why don't you do a compound radius fretboard? And with a multi-scale guitar, that poses all kinds of challenges. Not just generating that compound radius, but installing the frets as well. So I'm thinking that might be kind of an interesting way to do this fretboard, a compound radius, probably something like maybe 16 inches at the heel and then maybe 12 inches at the nut. I don't know. I'll have to do some research and see what I think will work best. But then I could talk about in the video how I install the frets, you know, or how I sand that radius to get it right, how I will level and recrown the frets on that. It's something that comes up a lot. People ask about that all the time, so maybe I'll do that in this video. But I still have to decide whether or not I want to do that. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below, if I should actually do that, or if you've done it and don't think it's really worth the effort. So anyway, that's kind of where things stand with the plan. Now I have also created the 3D file for the neck, and it's completely finished. As you can see, it's a reverse headstock. It's got the volute to strengthen the area behind the nut. This is going to be a bolt-in neck, so I've got ample area for laying out the mounts for the bolt-in, and that's all finished. Now I haven't done the body yet, that's coming, but I'll talk more about how I created these files in future episodes as I detail that more. I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what the progress is, and give you a video to watch while you're enjoying your Christmas holiday as that's fast approaching. It's Friday and Christmas Day is Monday, so this weekend's going to be crazy. At any rate, that's pretty much where things stand at the moment. So, you know, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up so that we can keep building the momentum for the channel. And of course, visit eguitarplans.com or my Highlines guitar merch store down below the description for this video. Or if you want to help to support the channel and offer a little bit of a financial tip, then click that thanks button down below. That always helps. That's what helps me to get all the materials and the parts and everything that I use to build these guitars, and then share that experience with you. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If so, and you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I hope to see you all back for part 3 in this fun and exciting guitar build.